Okay, now you're probably looking at the title of this video and you're already getting your pitchforks out, but just give me a second. I want to start out this video saying that I am not a Nintendo hater. I absolutely love Nintendo. Super Mario 64 was my first ever video game of all time, and I'm very proud of that fact. I own a Nintendo Switch, and heck, I even bought a Wii U recently for a video I'm going to be doing soon. And no matter what I am doing, no matter where I am, my world pauses when the Nintendo Direct is dropping. However, while I'm the biggest fan of Nintendo's consoles and software, what I'm not a fan of is the company. You see, despite Nintendo being a really great company in terms of treating its developers fairly, which is something I genuinely appreciate about them, especially nowadays, where you seem to hear about every single development studio treating their workers like garbage, Nintendo, however, staying away from that, is a terrible company in terms of its hold on its IPs. Nintendo is a very controlling company, infamously taking down so many ROM sites, fan games, and source code ports because, oh, it's not from us, so it's the spawn of Satan. Grrr! And yes, they are in their right to do that, but just because you have the right to do something doesn't mean it's ethical. Oh, what? You made a fan game based off our franchise for absolutely no profit involved at all, and you just wanted to do it out of love and appreciation from our IP? Or simply keep that franchise alive because it's dormant at the moment? Well, take a trip to Nintendo HQ, we got something real special planned for you. The fan games that Nintendo has taken down over the years and will continue to take down over the years were projects made out of love and appreciation for Nintendo's work, and they're not hurting anybody. They usually aren't sold for profit, and so isn't like a bootleg Mario game or anything like that. It's a project made purely out of love and appreciation. But what does any of that have to do with Nintendo's recent announcement, Nintendo Music? Nintendo Music is an answer to a problem that Nintendo's been having for literal decades. You see, people love to listen to video game soundtracks outside of the video game. For those of you that say that video game music isn't real music, well, I ask you to listen to Dire Dire Docks while I point this gun at you. And while other companies have realized this and put their music out on streaming services like Spotify and Apple Music and sell soundtrack CDs, up until literally yesterday, there was no way to listen to music from Nintendo's video games, officially anyway, without playing the games themselves. Or at least you could listen to Smash Bros. Ultimate Sound Selection, which is something they actually advertised and even shot a woman doing that like everybody was gonna do it. But from outside of that, there was no way to listen to Nintendo's music without listening to the soundtrack on YouTube, where people would upload the tracks for all of your Malo Mart from Twilight Princess needs. I probably pronounced that wrong, I'm so sorry, Zelda fans. All was well. Nintendo just probably copyrighted the tracks from YouTube. They wouldn't have to do any of the work, and fans could listen to Coconut Mall from Mario Kart Wii in peace. However, of course, both viewers and channels started coming out about how Nintendo was going after them with copyright takedowns. I remember this started happening a couple of years ago. Nintendo just has those days where they just wake up and go, well, it's time to punish our fans for liking our stuff. And again, the problem was they weren't doing anything about it on their end. If they were releasing these soundtracks on CDs that were easily accessible to buy or on streaming services like Spotify or Apple Music, then sure, while it is very annoying, there's not really an argument you can make against it. But they weren't, at the time. If you wanted to listen to these soundtracks, the only official method was to boot the game up and either hope the game had a sound test, or boot up the game and just stand there and hope you don't get killed in Bob-omb Battlefield while you have sex with your girlfriend. But it seems that Nintendo has fixed this issue, right? With their new app, Nintendo Music, which allows you to listen to any song from virtually any game with more being added later. Now, before I start criticizing this app, which believe you me, I will, I do like the app, and I'm not fully against it existing, as Nintendo has so much music that they might as well make an app just for them. And I thought this thing was going to have so many bare bones features. Like, I honestly thought they weren't going to have playlists. I'm not even kidding. I also like how they have playlists for certain characters. That's actually a really cool feature. Every track has a snapshot relating to the moment you hear it in game, and I don't even hate how you need Nintendo Switch Online in order to use it. Like, sure, it stinks, but hey, it could be worse. I would prefer if they had the option of paying for the service along with the Nintendo Switch Online subscription, and I would prefer if they had ad breaks for free as an option like Spotify, but again, this could be much, much worse. Another great feature is being able to extend the music, as since these are video game soundtracks and are supposed to go on basically forever, it makes sense it gives you the option to play extended versions. But if the track doesn't have an extended version, you can simply loop the track like normal, though it only goes up to 1 hour, which is odd. As I said, these tracks can go on forever, so I feel like 2 hours should be the minimum at least. And you can even hide certain albums so you don't accidentally spoil that final boss track. Genuinely an amazing feature. The UI looks very similar to Apple Music. I feel like that's the default for some reason, like nobody copies Spotify's UI, it's always Apple. Why? Similar to Spotify though are certain mood playlists, and while there should be more, I think this is always a great way to discover music you like. All in all, the Nintendo Music app is great, and I'm not knocking the fact that it exists, and I appreciate some of the little things they added, like the extended soundtracks for example. It really makes it feel like it was made for video game music, and I honestly appreciate that, as it does give some attention to video game soundtracks. As I've alluded to before, people have a tendency to look down on people who listen to video game OSTs, claiming it's not real music. However, my problem all circles back to the point that it doesn't really feel like an answer to letting people listen to Nintendo's music. This feels like yet another method of Nintendo controlling its assets. Because as much as I do like this app, I would much rather consume this content along with my other content. As much as I love listening to video game music, I don't listen to just video game music. And even if I do, it's not just Nintendo music. I listen to a whole bunch of music, and I like having all of it in one simple place. On Spotify, I have my own playlist that I've had since 2016, constantly adding songs to it, because I want all of my music in one place where I'm constantly reminded my homeschool musical and Descendants phase in 2018. I wanted to be an actor in one of those Disney Channel musicals when I was 17. I don't know why. My point is, at least for me, music has to be one of the most accessible forms of entertainment. Music's not really a thing you pay attention to. You want to just have a bunch of tracks to play in the background while you're doing other things, you know? Music is all about just vibing to it, especially depending on your mood. Meaning, a whole set of music should not be locked to one app and on one device. If you're in the mood to just put on some music in the background while you play a video game, read a book, or study, or whatever you do, if you're doing things the way Nintendo wants you to do, you are forced to either decide, do I want to listen to most of my music today, or just a certain set of it, which I can also listen to certain remixes of on my other app of choice anyway, so, this is just another half-assed way of Nintendo trying to control your interest in their IP. And again, I'm not trying to downplay how cool this is. Like I said, I do like this app. I'm literally listening to it while writing the script. The Way Home from Scarlet and Violet came on, it's great. But it should be another option. An option that grants you more features, but Nintendo should also put their music elsewhere so you're not only locked to only listening to their music. As I said, music should be accessible in as many ways as possible, in terms of having it all in one place and discoverability. All media should be that way for the record, but music is arguably the most important. But if this is truly the path you want to go on, Nintendo, then fine. But you gotta do a lot more. You're not even close to being done with this. First of all, there's still a whole bunch of video game OSTs that are not available, yet some you would just assume to be there, like Super Mario Sunshine or Twilight Princess. Or even some modern examples on Nintendo Switch, like Nintendo Switch Sports or even Super Mario 3D World. I am utterly baffled that's not here given the Nintendo Switch remaster. You would think, given that it's Nintendo and Mario, that every Mario game would be on here at least. But no, not even. And I'm not trying to downplay this, as there are some tracks that you would not expect to be here, like Nintendogs. That's actually really cool. And also, the app itself has got to be more accessible. This app is only accessible on smartphones at the moment, and some people need this on PC. Honestly, I think a Nintendo Music website rather than an app would be really cool. But whatever, you gotta get this on PC, as a lot of people like to listen to music on PC while they're working, so this is a must. And also, just throw it on the Switch while you're at it. That way you can play it over your TV speakers. And this should 100% be available on TV casters and mini speakers like the Google Chromecast or Amazon Echo. I'm sorry as I come off a bit demanding for something that just came out literally a day ago. Oh, pour a heart out for the indie company Nintendo. But if you want control over me listening to your music, then you gotta make your method of listening to your music as accessible as possible. I still would prefer Nintendo just license all their music to Spotify and Apple, but if this is Nintendo's half answer to making their music officially accessible, then they can't just fart this out and say, be grateful. They've got to work on this. But what do you think of Nintendo Music? Do you think it's a good idea? Will you be using the app, or will you just stick to trying to listen to the OSTs on YouTube along with your other music? Let me know down in the comments below. Oh, and by the way, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate isn't on the app yet either, so you still gotta use your Switch for that.